Lagos 1977. Military boats crashed through splintering wood as flames devoured the Kalakuta Republic. Directly opposite the burning building, the iconic Fumilayo Ransom Kuti laid injured as she watched her son, his family, and his band brutalized by over 1,000 soldiers who just brought chaos into a home that was widely celebrated for freedom, music, and activism.
Everybody, ayakata. And now you see, you are talking like white man. White man, when you talk small. Speak. No, man. African, we talk with black man, talk with all our mouths, man. Everybody, ayakata. Ayakata. Okay, let's go now.
The saxophone that has terrorized Nigeria's military regime lies melting in the inferno, but its revolutionary sound has already escaped, echoing across continents. Before he became the black president, before he declared war on Africa's power brokers, Olufela Olusegun Oludotun Ransom Kuti was born into Nigeria's economic elite, a prince of sorts in a colonial kingdom about to implode. In the ancient Yoruba city of Abeokuta, young Fela's world was shaped by an extraordinary dichotomy. His father, Reverend Israel Oduludotun Ramson Kuti, wielded Protestant hymns and Western education as tools of progress. His mother, Fumilayo, was already becoming a legend, the first woman to drive a car in Nigeria, a feminist who would later make colonial authorities tremble.
Elections to Ringo, opposite the plan them very well. Elections to Ringo, opposite the plan them very well. Him take all politicians, we rule Nigeria before. Disabled politicians, we spoil Nigeria before. Opposite the carry all of them they are now.
London 1958. While Nigeria's independence fighters plotted revolution in smoky cafes, their benefactor's son was discovering a different kind of rebellion in Soho's jazz clubs. The medical student had gone rogue, trading his stethoscope for a trumpet at Trinity College of Music. What people often miss about Fela's evolution is how deeply rooted it was in both privilege and rebellion. His family's prominence gave him access to Western education, but it was their legacy of resistance, perhaps his mother's anti-colonial activism, that gave him his revolutionary DNA. 1969 marked the pivot. In America's crucible of Black power, Fela Kuti discovered himself. Through Sandra Isidore's guidance, Malcolm X's writings, and the Black Panthers' example, he saw Africa with new eyes. The prodigal son returned home with a mission to forge a sound that could awaken the continent. Nigeria's post-independence dreams had cuddled into nightmares. Military coups, civil war, and corruption had replaced colonial exploitation with homegrown oppression. Into this chaos, Fela dropped his first musical bomb, a new genre called Afrobeat. What Fela created wasn't just an amalgamation of styles. He took highlife's sophistication, jazz's improvisation, traditional Yoruba rhythms, and James Brown's funk, and infused them with something entirely new, political consciousness as rhythm.
First of all, let me break it down because it's quite a loaded question in terms of the creation of Afrobeat. Let's start from the ground zero. Now, the social consciousness, activism, sometimes rebellion are encapsulated into the Afrobeat's dynamic or image. But what it is important to do as historians is to lay out a few chronological details. I think there is no controversy about the fact that Fela's social consciousness, his activism, was, should I say, concretized, ignited by his time in America, with Sandra Isidore, his muse, who was a Black Panther and who guided him to use the right path. But then, was that the ground zero of the creation of Afrobeat? Well, let me say that, let us use the term Afrobeat in itself. I have newspaper articles that show that the term Afrobeat was being used in late 1967 and early 1968 before his socially conscious phase. And even Fela himself tells you that I was playing non-conscious music before I met Sandra. Now, he was playing Afrobeat before he met Sandra, but the nature of the utility of Afrobeat changed after he met her. I mean, once in a while, he still dropped a few tracks which were not socially conscious, because even after he met Sandra, he dropped a track called Igbe, which, if I translate it, basically means manure. Okay, I'm being polite. I know. So my point being that can you separate the consciousness from the Afrobeat? Of course you can.
The Africa Shrine became more than a venue. It was a nightly resurrection. Here, Fela conducted musical warfare. His songs growing longer, more complex, more accusatory. A typical performance might last till dawn, with Fela dissecting Nigeria's power structure between saxophone solos that seemed to channel ancient spirits. His movement of the People Party wasn't just political theater. Fela envisioned a Pan-African revolution with music as its herald. Each album became more direct: VIP, Vagabonds in Power, Coffin for Head of State, Unknown Soldier, a musical journalism that named names and demanded accountability. Within Kalakuta walls, Fela built the Africa he dreamed of, a commune where artists lived rent-free, where traditional spirituality mixed with revolutionary politics, where his numerous wives, whom he called queens, embodied both traditional African polygamy and radical feminist independence. It was Nigeria's counterculture embassy, and its ambassador had diplomatic immunity through music. Fela's impact ripples through time. When you hear Burna Boy sampling Zombie or see protesters in Johannesburg singing Colonial Mentality, you are witnessing Fela's ghost walking among us. He created a template for how art can confront power. From Wizkid to Angelique Kidjo, from Antibalas to Seun Kuti's Egypt 80, today's artists carry forward his tradition. But they are not just copying a sound. They are channeling a spirit of fearless truth-telling through music. Today, the new Africa Shrine, managed by Fela's children, stands as both a monument and a living cultural center. Femi and Seun Kuti carry their father's musical torch, while a new generation discovers that Afrobeat's revolution never ended. Fela Anikulapo Kuti died in 1997, officially from AIDS-related complications. Though his followers whisper other theories, but the weapon he forged, music that dares to speak through to power, only grows stronger with time. In a world of increasing authoritarian tendencies, Fela's art reminds us that the most powerful revolution begins with a single defiant note.
Dash them human rights. How animal go know say they no born me a slave? How animal go know say slave trade don't pass? And they want dash us human rights. Animal must talk to human beings. Give them human rights.